one of the things that Dave said in his opening remarks this morning too that I thought was interesting is he was talking about we need to make it easier for marketers to buy premium video, right? So you get back to the question of why is it important for television to be a platform? Well, because it is at once the highest form of advertising, but it is also, frankly, becoming harder and harder to buy in more sophisticated ways. So then you can sort of unpack that a bit and say, well, what does it take then for TV to become a platform? If you think traditionally of Facebook, Google, even Amazon as the three large advertising platforms, advertising ecosystems, then what is it about television, this thing that's been around for 50 plus years, what is it that we're missing that could get us there? And I think it really comes down to three things. I think it comes down to unification, cooperation, and this thing called bridging the activation gap. Unification is...
You just made that up right now, right?
I absolutely just made that up.
That's pretty good.
That's good, that's good.
Top of my head.
Free float.
This is what we talked about in the
Right,
That's tweetable.
Sorry, I broke your rhythm. That was not nice of me.
47 Twitter followers are going to be really impressed.
Okay.
I apologize. Go back.
You'll get some more followers.
But if you think about the idea of unification, I think it's the notion that television, almost like the art form that is television, and the art form that is premium television content, now can touch consumers across many different points within a consumption journey. Whether that is a traditional piece of glass on the wall, whether that's a mobile phone, whether that's a tablet, whatever it may be. But the point is, people are having brand experiences across so many different places today. And really having the ability to unify that around content, around this premium experience of television content, that's sort of critical piece number one. The cooperation stuff, and this is, my friend Denise here, we can talk about this a ton, is the notion of how do you start to look at television companies actually coming together to cooperate as an ecosystem, as a unified platform. And OpenAP is sort of an incredible effort that has been bearing a ton of fruit over the past 12, 18 months. And over the next 12, 18 months, I think is going to absolutely accelerate the ability for marketers to come in and buy television in a more comprehensive and cohesive way. And then the last piece is this activation gap. That is, I can go to Facebook, I can go to Google, I can go to Amazon, I can bring data, I can bring advanced targeting, and I can go find massive scale against the precise set of consumers who I want to reach. We've been limited to Nielsen demography for the past 50 years in the TV ecosystem, but with OpenAP and with other efforts that are happening across the market, we are seeing that fundamentally change.
Yeah.
We go do those things right, TV evolves into this unified platform that I think is not just competing, but winning against the incumbents.
Yeah. Denise, initial thoughts.
Sure. I think everything my friends Bryson and Nadine have said is incredibly correct, but I think we have to take it a step further. TV is not the platform. TV is just part of a platform. So right now, we can't really start thinking about it as TV is a separate entity from digital, from addressable, because the consumer doesn't care, right? What we've seen in the past 12 months is that consumers are moving seamlessly between television and addressable and video, and they expect a seamless experience. If you look at what we're doing with C-Flight, we're measuring all those things simultaneously in over 80 shows, and it's really important to them that they maintain a consistent experience. Now, historically, we've been looking at different systems between TV and video ad serving, and then addressable is different still. But if we can't make that a common experience with the same amount of targeting, with the same amount of quality, then we're really doing the consumer a disservice, and we have to put them first.
Right. Mm-hmm. In fact, I find it interesting. Is there still a distinction that you find today between those that use the word television to mean the set-top box and a thing on the wall versus the content that lives in that ecosystem? You certainly used it there as there's TV, or what you might think of linear television,
right,
different from VOD or OTT distribution. Clearly, again, from a strategy perspective, marketers aren't worried about that as much.
Right.
You still see an ecosystem gap, though, again, as we talk about the platform, the ability to scale and trade across them.
Right.
Still some legacy systems that are pretty disconnected. Is that a lot of what you're still dealing with, I guess?
It's a tremendous amount of what we're dealing with. The systems are very disconnected. I think we're taking great steps in linear with OpenAP, making it a common segment so consumers can address a common targeted segment. And they don't feel different between my company and Bryson's company. They want to buy from Nadine, and they want to see it the same way across publishers, right? But we need to bring that further on to addressable and to digital, because customers don't care if it's digital. They don't care if it's linear. They just want their content. They don't see it as TV, as internet, as their device. They'll move from wherever they are, they're watching the World Cup, to use a common reference, and they'll move from their phone, and then if they happen to be in front of a TV, they'll watch it on the glass. Right. And we're expected to provide that same experience.
Yeah. I think Denise used the word consistent multiple times, and I think that is one of the themes that we hear ringing over and over again anytime we get together on these panels or in consortium meetings. And sort of when you think about consistency, it is about how are you reducing barriers for advertisers to buy. You are thinking about consistency in terms of measurement. You're thinking consistency in terms of how do we separate this old model of television as that box on the wall, et cetera, from television to content that can live and breathe across so many different touch points. And I think what's actually consistent are the set of problems that all of the television publishers are working with. And that is why instead of going at this on our own, like we'll look at things like C-Flight and say, is C-Flight the right solve for the industry? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but as an industry, we should agree on that and make it easier for people to essentially buy in a consistent way.
Yeah. But and listen, it seems that the main reason, Nadine, that to have a discussion about consistency, right? Because consistency for consistency's sake has never been interesting.
Never.
We're having a scale discussion, right, Nadine? Which is if Google and Facebook have done something well for you as a marketer, it's they've given you ability to think about reaching lots of individuals, and again, in a different way and a more disconnected way than a scale of a TV opportunity in a shorter period of time, but nonetheless, an easy way to often think about it. I would think, Nadine, that as you hear consistency, you're thinking, I can get more scale in a more easy format, in a more easy way.
When I hear consistency, I think it's going to take 10 years to get to where we need to go. That's what I think.
It won't take
quite
10
frankly.
years, I promise.
Well,
that makes me so nervous because I lived through projects like 3MS, and I was on these committees, and I lived through Project Apollo, which was another initiative where we tried to get to consistency for months and months and months, and we got nowhere. So when I hear consistency, I get super nervous.
Right.
My whole body's just kind of.
So what word would you prefer?
My blood cells just kind of shuddered as I was sitting here.
How do you feel about how about interoperability? How about that word?
So I mean, for us, like simply,
yeah, it does.
What we started looking at was when I got to L'Oreal, we started looking at consumer consumption patterns of media, like quite simply, and year-on-year growth of all of the digital platforms, if you will, and what the micro segments or macro segments of our target audiences and where they were, and where we wanted to put our media dollars. I mean, it's very simple media planning, right? And that was a starting point. We started looking at TV as T/V, total video. So we started, and that's just reframing everybody's mind. And within there, if you unpack it, is linear, it's OTT, it's everything, right? And it also includes Google and Facebook and Twitter and everyone else that's trying to get into the video game. Because it's, to Denise's point, it's about where consumers want to consume video content, and they don't care. They want to just good content that captures their attention. It's about a value exchange with them. So if it's good, they'll be there. And so we're trying to continue to learn what that is and unpack it, and then figure out where, again, what kind of messaging we should have in those spaces so that we're also part of that value exchange. Yeah. So that's part of it, and then measure and learn. So I'm not sure there's consistency, and we have to maybe be comfortable with being inconsistent within the consistency. What I think needs to happen is we need to have marketers involved in that test and learn environment in a very transparent way, because we are doing our own testing in many cases, and we could probably bring a lot to the party if we're brought in early. And then there's less, I think, of that adversarial feeling because of all of the transparency. So I would say we might get there faster if we do it together, but consistency, I think our worlds are changing so much. It's a great goal, and we'll get there eventually, but we must continue to move forward.